morning, everybody. My name is Marie Smith. I'm one of the nurses in the recovery room, and I'm going to talk to you today about three different things: gait control theory, consequences of poor pain control or undertreated pain, and also addiction. The first thing is gait control theory, and it's better to get this out of the way because it's the most complicated of the three subjects. You can probably spend 2 or 3 days trying to understand what gait control theory is, and I don't have a complete handle on it myself yet, but I've been learning as I've been going along preparing this material, so hopefully I'm going to give you the right information, and we're learning together. Gait control theory was proposed by Melzack and Wall back in 1965. And it proposes that pain is a biopsychosocial process rather than just a physiological response. And it focuses on the role of the central nervous system in the conduction and inhibition of pain impulses. The main premise of the gait control theory is the existence of what they call T cells. And T cells are not like the T cells in your white blood cell system, or it's not the T cells that we count with HIV and so forth. It's actually not a definable structure, and it's part of what they describe as a T cell action system, or also a neuromatrix. And so let me just kind of go through this by example, and hopefully you'll be able to understand a little bit better. I'm very fussy about salads. When I go to the grocery store, I like to put my salad separate in little compartments, and it has to be just so. The beets can't mix with the lettuce, and the little side salad of macaroni can't get mixed in with everything else because it's disgusting. And I go to great pains to prevent that from happening. So I try to keep my salad on a flat surface, and when I carry it into my apartment, I take my time going up the stairs carrying it. So on this particular day, I wanted to keep my salad straight, but I didn't want to make several trips out to the car. So I had my salad in one hand, just kind of holding it like this. I had my purse over my other shoulder, and I had my exercise mat under this arm, plus a couple of other shopping bags dangling from this arm. So here I am, and I go up to my second-story apartment. Halfway up, I fall down, and actually I fell up the stairs. And there's never anybody following me into the apartment. I'm usually alone at the mailbox or alone climbing, but on this particular day, 2 other neighbors arrived home at the same time as me and witnessed this whole event. So, and the surface of the stairs is really sharp. You can't really go down there on your sock feet because it'll hurt your bottoms of your feet. So I landed on this, smack, got my elbow, got my knee. And I had 10 out of 10 pain in my hand, and I let out a yell, and I was making growling noises. So what happened was, initial impact, I thought that I broke my hand. My hand got all swollen, started bleeding, and so forth. And now my cat's in a box. On the previous, run of this thing, they were over in the wind. Anyway, go back to what you were doing. Anyway, so the 10 out of 10 pain in my hand and my elbow meant that the impulse was traveling along my afferent pathway in my arm, and when it got to my spinal cord, it reached the dorsal horn, and there it reached the gate. So, the gate is basically what I understand to be the synapse. There's lots of neurotransmitters in there and so forth. I don't exactly know how it gets across, but it does. And that's where a lot of the modulation happens, where the brain determines, how you're going to react. That's the Marie Smith explanation. But anyway, this impulse got across and got to my second neuron and went up to my brain. And supposedly the higher functions of my brain, if there are any, just kidding, I'm a ridiculous comedian, I know. But the higher functions started adding things to the experience of my pain. And those things would be past experiences with pain, present circumstances that are going on around, emotions, cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, what you should do about pain, and also has a chemical component too, natural endorphins, or if you're on any pain medication or so forth. But anyway, so just now the two neighbors that came in, one of them was a child. It's always embarrassing when you do something stupid in front of children, because they, anyway. And the other was a young man that was rather handsome that I would kind of like to impress rather than, do something like this in front of. So I had humiliation. The other thing was I went to such great pains to keep that salad straight. And gosh darn it, when I landed on top of it, and all I could think was my salad's messed up. I mean, not all of it, but my salad's messed up. I had this ice cream parfait thing also in one of the other bags, and that exploded. And the neighbors are just looking at me, and I'm angry because all my stuff got messed up. I'm angry because I was stupid enough to try to bring everything up the stairs at one time. I was angry because of the way the stairs were built, angry because the stairs were slippery, angry because I tripped over my own feet, so anger, humiliation, and shame and fear of the hand being broken, all on top of the 10 out of 10 pain. So all that stuff was making it an even more horribly emotional experience. So hence the growl when I fell. It was like, ah! Like, oh, and a couple of swear words. But that response was part of the gate control theory, takes all that into account. Another more positive example would be where you have natural endorphins. I like to go to U2 concerts. Everybody that knows me knows that. And if you really want to get a good spot at the stage, you got to be there all day, and you're standing up and standing up and standing up. Feet get really sore, and but when the band comes on the stage, you kind of forget about your feet. And it's like people can tramp on you and elbow you and so forth, and the natural endorphins are just flowing, and you're just like, oh, that's okay, blah, blah, blah. And I look like an idiot. But anyway, day or so, sometimes a little sooner afterwards, you remember that your feet hurt, and your feet start hurting again, and that's because the natural endorphin wore off, and that's not being inhibited anymore through the gate control theory, T-cell complex. And the same goes for if you take narcotics after surgery. They inhibit, and so just remember, gate control theory, it has a central nervous system focus, and the T-cell action system / neuromatrix. That's what you have to remember. And I don't have enough time to go into more of it. Next, how are we doing for time? Oh, still got a little bit more? Okay. All right. Consequences of uncontrolled pain or undertreated pain. When I fell down the stairs, up the stairs. Oh, God help me on the day I have to give this speech. The day I fell up the stairs, my initial reaction was to protect that hand. And that's a natural purpose of pain, because you want to get away from the painful stimulus, and you also want to avoid further tissue damage, and also protect yourself, protect your life. So the endocrine cascade, as I call it, kicks in, where your pituitary secretes cortisol, growth hormone, ADH, aldosterone, glucagon, all the things that you're going to need in an emergency to run away, protect or fight. Sympathetic response, in other words. So cortisol goes through a series of steps where it eventually gets converted to adrenaline on top of other things. And adrenaline, over time, stretches your heart, stretches your blood vessels, does damage to them. It also, the ADH and the aldosterone causes your fluid to shift, and sodium to go up and increase your blood pressure that way.